Alrighty, so I wanted to do a kind of refresher or orientation on what mindfulness is, because I feel like we talk a lot about mindfulness, and for some folks that might be a totally foreign concept. They may have no idea am I talking about when I say mindfulness. And mindfulness is in the news a lot these days. It's referred to in magazines. People say they practice it, but there's a lot of different thoughts about, okay, well, what does that mean though? Is that sitting down and meditating? Is mindfulness religious? Like, what do you mean by mindfulness? And so I want to clear the air and start from scratch. And this would be a great video to show people who in the future might be like, but what is mindfulness? Well, let me tell you. So let me also adjust my blinds one more time. I think that's the one. Okay, good. Perfect. So there are a lot of definitions of mindfulness, and mindfulness is hard to get your head around. So there's meditation, where you sit and you quiet the mind or you think about breath or whatever. That's a type of mindfulness. Mindfulness is like a giant umbrella, and underneath is a lot of different things you can do. You can be mindful and do yoga. You can be mindful and meditate. You can be mindful while you do basic activities. So I think mindfulness is like this giant umbrella where a lot of other things are underneath it. And so you can practice mindfulness while you're brushing your teeth. You don't have to be sitting and meditating. You don't even need to be sitting to do mindfulness. So that's what I want to kind of get around. The definition of mindfulness is kind of fuzzy. A lot of different people have definitions of what they think it is. I like to land with the one that a guy named John Kabat-Zinn, you don't need to know that, but he's like the king of mindfulness. He says mindfulness is paying attention to the present moment on purpose, non-judgmentally. So you're paying attention to what's happening right now on purpose, and you're not judging yourself for anything that's happening. So example, when we say non-judgmentally, it could be, I'm feeling anxious. And so you pay attention to what's happening right now. Right now, I'm feeling anxious. I'm paying attention on purpose to my feelings, and I'm being anxious. Non-judgmentally is the important part, where you don't go, dang it, I'm feeling anxious again. I cannot shake this. Why do I have an issue? That's all judgment, that you're making a judgment about what you feel. Feelings are just feelings. They are neutral. They happen. They are communications to our bodies. So the mindful thing to do is to look at it, what's happening right now in my body. I'm feeling anxious, or I'm feeling lonely, or I'm feeling left out, and say, interesting. And look at it with curiosity, like a scientist would look at something. You can do the same thing with your thoughts. I can't believe I'm thinking about this again, or I can't believe I'm still hung up on whatever, or I'm fixated, or I'm obsessed with the future, or I'm freaking out about that thing I said, last year. That was so dumb of me. All of those are judgments about it. So mindfulness is looking at your thoughts and going, that's interesting. I'm thinking about that again today. Looking at it with curiosity and like lovingly. It'll be like, it's okay that I'm feeling this way. It's okay that I'm thinking these things. It's not a good or a bad thing. It just is what it is. So that's mindfulness. But we can also do activities to bring ourselves into the present moment, to bring ourselves into that state of non-judgment. I know this sounds kind of woo-woo, but I want to show you guys a video of teenagers talking about when you practice mindfulness regularly, it does really cool things to your brain. It is powerful, and there's a lot of science and research that is already here, but also emerging about the benefits of mindfulness to the brain in various ages and various people with different diseases or illnesses or addictions. Is really interesting, the stuff that's coming out about mindfulness. But I wanted to share a particular just 2-minute video of teenagers discussing how mindfulness has helped them. And I think, because I'm old and boring, that hearing it from teenagers will be helpful because they are your people. So let me share my screen and I will show you this delightful little video. Here we go.
Before I tried mindfulness, I felt threatened all the time.
Really disillusioned with life.
Confused.
Tired, stressed, frustrated.
Scattered all over the place.
Overwhelmed. Anxiety over the future. Worried. It was kind of taking over my life. I tried mindfulness because I felt stressed out. I was very concerned with the future and what my day was going to look like tomorrow and everything that was happening.
My life was always about what happened in the past and what's going to happen in the future. So by doing mindfulness, I live much more in the now. It is just a different approach to life.
We all experience difficult challenges in our life, like stress, pain, and depression. Mindfulness can give us resilience to rise above those challenges and live life more fully. Mindfulness is a particular type of meditation where we bring our awareness to the present moment. We can let go of the past, let go of the future, live life more fully, more joyfully.
We all are too busy. I think it's a thing that everybody's just so busy all the time right now.
You always have something that you have to do, or you're always going towards a certain goal. And mindfulness is just taking a moment to look at your life without any expectations.
Take time for yourself rather than getting carried off in all the daily activities that you have.
Mindfulness can be practiced by anyone, no matter what your religion, your age, or your background. We don't have to wait until we have time to do like a formal sitting meditation to practice mindfulness. We can bring that same mindful awareness to any activity that we're doing through our daily lives. So walking can be a meditation. Eating our lunch, brushing our teeth, being creative, painting, writing, or playing music can get us deeply in touch with the present moment. Mindfulness is available anytime, anywhere.
It's a tool and skill that you can use for the rest of your life, and it's easy through simple daily or not daily exercise.
Just keeps us all just calm and present, and I think that that's healthy for anybody.
It can be beneficial for everyone, and you just have to go in with an open mind and take everything slowly instead of trying to get through like quickly and do as much as I can, as fast as I can do it. Instead, just enjoy everything you do. Maybe look at life from a more positive perspective.
So I really invite you all to try it, to experience it, and to see for yourself how mindfulness might be able to affect and transform your own life.
Okay, so imagine a world where people are doing that, where we're practicing mindfulness and we're being more calm and we're more aware of the things that we're doing and the choices that we're making. And we are more in tune with our bodies and in tune with our breath and in tune with how we interact with people, in tune with our emotions. Imagine a world, just imagine it. Also, did you see anything that you related to there? People talking about, I was freaked out about the future. I was worried about the past and I couldn't get past it. I was more focused on what was happening then and what was going to happen than what happens now. And that is no way to live your life. If you're always living life in the past, I've heard it said before that if you're fixated on the future, you're going to be anxious because you're worried. But if you're obsessed with the past, you're going to be sad because of the choices that you made or the circumstances that happened to you outside of your choices that you couldn't control. Do we want to live in that place? Either one of those? No. That doesn't mean we can't look back and learn from the past or be smart about our future, but you want to set up residence in the now. You want to be in the present moment, not be 5 years from now or this weekend or 5 minutes from now when the bell rings. You don't want to be 2 weeks ago when I was with my boyfriend or a year ago when this bad thing had not happened yet to me. Like, we can learn from those and they shape who we are, but we want to be in the present moment. And that's what mindfulness is. And we are much happier when we live in the present moment. Let me show you a couple of other things that I think you will find interesting and helpful. Okay. So just also checking my time, make sure I don't run my mouth. Here are some benefits of mindfulness. Increased emotional regulation. Big fancy phrase for being like you can control more of how you feel or how you express your feelings. Better social skills. Hello. We could all use that, right? Better attention span. Okay, good. Working memory, planning, and organization. That's the part of your brain as a teenager that's still under construction, but it can help you construct that part of your brain because you need it. Increased self-esteem. Couldn't we all use a little bit more of that, right? Increased sense of calmness, relaxation, self-acceptance, and better sleep. Raise your hand if you could use better sleep. Probably everybody. So that's awesome. We could always benefit from that. Okay, so those are the increase. Let me also show you what it will help you to decrease, which is also beneficial, stuff you don't want in your life. It will help you decrease your test anxiety. How many of you guys have test anxiety? A lot of you, because you tell me about it. ADHD behaviors, so hyperactivity and impulsivity, which means you do before you think, right? You did something, you're like, I don't know why I did that. I blurted something out. I acted without thinking. That's impulsivity. And a lot of folks I know here struggle with those things. It doesn't mean it's going to go away, but it might help you be more aware of when you're having these behaviors, what your triggers are, and how to perhaps take a breath, take a beat before you do something that maybe you'll regret later through the impulsivity, or become more in tune with your body when you're feeling hyperactive. Decreased anxiety, decreased depression, decreased negative affect or emotions. So that means like you're feeling bad about yourself or just feeling bad in general. Decreased conduct and anger management problems. Some of you guys are like, anxiety, ADHD, but then you're the conduct anxiety, anger people where you're like, but I punched a wall the other day. And I'm like, there's probably a better way to handle ourselves. Am I right? So mindfulness can help you with that. Cause yeah, it might be a cool story later, say I punched a wall, but your hand's not going to like it. And end of day, not really smart thing to do. So we are going to pursue mindfulness because we think it is an important and essential tool for you to learn. Let me tell you, adults need to learn this too. I know so many adults who, I just read a list of things, they have issues with that. They have issues with adult ADHD. They have issues with anxiety. They have issues with saying things and then later being like, probably shouldn't have said that. So that's what mindfulness can do. Now, I'm talking a lot about what mindfulness is, and you're like, okay, great, but how do I do it? Like, how do I suddenly become mindful? And that's a tricky part because it's not like a do A, B, and C, and now you're mindful for the rest of your life. Congratulations. Let me also make a quick point too. If you're like, I still don't understand what you mean by mindfulness. Have you ever done something, walked through the hall, or folded clothes, just any kind of activity? Think any kind of activity where at the end of it, you're like, I don't remember I did that. Like I was on autopilot that whole time. I have no idea that like I was not aware. I'll tell you, if you're not driving yet, there will come a day when you drive, and this happens all the time, where you're on autopilot and you're like, I'm at my house and I don't remember driving here. Like just because you're lost in your thoughts. Have you ever been like that? You're lost in your thoughts. You're kind of distracted doing something. That's being mindless. Like you're mindlessly making dinner. When I'm not doing well, when I'm stressed out, I do a lot of things mindlessly. So I put my coffee cup in the pantry one time and then walked all over my house looking for it because I couldn't find my coffee cup. I was like, what the heck? I know I poured myself a cup of coffee. Where did it go? I looked at all my normal places. Is it on the kitchen counter? Is it in my bedroom? Is it in my office? And I looked everywhere. I even looked like in my kids' room. I couldn't find it. I was like, I guess it's gone. I don't know where it went. And then I opened up the pantry later to get a snack. There it was. I don't know what I was thinking. I just put it in there. And that's exactly it. I wasn't thinking. I was being mindless. Or you mindlessly, put on your pants and they're backwards or something, like people, we do this stuff all the time. Or you mindlessly do your homework and you're not even thinking about it. You're just filling it out. And then later you're like, well, I did that totally wrong. Or you forget to put your name on something and the teacher rips you because you're like, yikes. We do this all the time. What's the opposite of that? Mindful. Being mindful is you're doing something intentionally. I will also say as an adult, you will do this later where you're like halfway to your work and you're like, did I turn off the oven? Did I unplug my curling iron? Did I this and this? If you do things mindfully, intentionally, with purpose, I'm going to go unplug my curling iron. I'm going to make sure the knob on the oven or the stove is off. You won't have to have those thoughts where it's like, did I put that in my backpack? You won't know because you will have mindfully done it. If you pay attention to what you're doing on purpose in the present moment without judgment, you will have much fewer instances of this forgetfulness or this distracted living. And you'll be more mindful. Mindfulness also, like imagine if everybody drove their cars mindfully, paid attention to everything that was going on around them instead of got distracted or lost in thought or half asleep on the road. Man, the amount of accidents would be so much less. I guarantee I would be willing to bet all the money that I have that would solve a lot of these automobile accidents if people were paying attention on purpose in the present moment of what they were doing. So that's mindfulness. Think about right now something that you've done recently that was mindless. So here's my first tip. If you want to be mindful, you're like, okay, Ellen, you're selling me mindfulness, but what can I do right now today about mindfulness? So first thing you can do is find a normal task that you do every day and do it mindfully one time. Example, washing your hands. Hopefully, especially in our post-COVID life, you are washing your hands regularly, but you're probably not thinking about it when you're doing it. I mean, maybe you are, and if you are, good for you. But I know for me, it's an autopilot thing. Turn on the water, get the soap, scrub the hands, rinse it off, and then we move on, right? The next time you wash your hands, wash them mindfully. And to do that, turn on the water. Notice what the water feels like, just how the water passes over your hands, the temperature of it. Press the soap, maybe smell the soap. That's how you can bring yourself back into what's happening right now. And the key is through your senses, noticing sights, smells, tastes, sounds, textures. That's how you can bring yourself into what's happening right now. Because if you're thinking about what the soap smells like, what the temperature of the water is, the sound of the water, the feeling of the water on your hands and how it feels wet, or you're counting to make sure you scrub your hands good, then now you're being mindful. Now you're using your senses. And when we learn our senses in elementary school, so hopefully you know them, but you start using your senses in any activity that you're doing, now you're paying attention. Now you're paying attention. Same thing with brushing your teeth. Just noticing the taste of the toothpaste, the color of the toothbrush. Let me tell you another trick. If you're like, I don't feel like doing all that work, just swap hands and use the other hand today. It'll help you pay attention. You'll be like, oh, this feels weird to brush my teeth with my left hand or my right hand, whichever one. It'll feel strange. It'll feel really strange. And now you're paying attention to what you're doing. And I will say, if you do that back and forth, like every other day, you alternate which hand you use to brush your teeth, then you're actually going to clean your teeth better because your non-dominant hand is going to get areas that your dominant hand doesn't. So it's actually a good dental hygienic tip for you, but it's another way to be mindful and to pay attention to what you're doing. So another thing you can do, so that's the first, is pick one activity to do mindfully. So washing your hands is my challenge to you. The next time you wash your hands, try to do it mindfully. Next, do a feelings check-in. All that means is periodically throughout the day, you can set yourself an alarm. You can say, every time I look at my phone or whatever, don't care. Periodically drop in. And by that, I mean, look inward at yourself and go, what am I feeling right now? And if you don't have the language for it, you can just be like, I feel bad, or I feel good, or I feel tired, or I feel sad, or whatever. You can get more advanced later by saying, I feel lonely, or I feel dejected, or I feel at peace or content. Like, you can get more language for that. But the important thing is to notice what you're feeling and give it a name. I feel sad today. I feel tired today. Let me tell you what that does in your brain. They have measured this with MRIs in people's brains, where they're noticing a lot of neuroactivity when people are feeling strong emotions. And if they say what it is they're feeling, they give it a label and say, I feel angry, that activity starts to dial down a little bit, which means by just giving it a name, by saying to yourself what you're feeling, acknowledging it, labeling your emotions, you're going to bring it down a little bit. So it's not going to feel as intense. And when you're a teenager, emotions are so intense. They feel so strong. And sometimes we don't want to feel sad that strong, right? It's like, that's too much. It's too much. So just labeling it. It's like it takes us from this big fuzzy cloud of darkness into like, okay, it's still here, but it's about this big now. I still have to have it. I still have to deal with it. But now I've labeled it. I feel lonely, or I feel left out, or I feel betrayed, whatever it is that you're feeling. So I'm not going to get to all of my things, but that's your two things you can do. Something mindfully and drop in periodically throughout the day. What are you feeling? What are you feeling? So good to know that about yourself. That's going to increase your emotional intelligence. You're going to know yourself better. I say this all the time. Y'all, I could go on and on about mindfulness. I have done a lot of training on mindfulness. So I've got a lot up here that I could just, and I'm not going to do that to you because you don't need that. It's too much. But what we need to know is that when we start connecting to our bodies more, it also will improve our state of being. You are not a body and separately a mind. You're not a mind that has a body. They're realizing that these things are super connected. You learn, like, you communicate down to your body, move my arm, step forward, don't step on that roach or whatever. But also your body is sending communications back up. My heart is beating fast. My leg is jiggling. Paying attention to what's happening there. If you're jiggling or bouncing the leg, or your heart's starting to beat, that's your body communicating to you. Ooh, I'm feeling a little stressed out. I'm feeling a little anxious, or your fists are clenched. Ooh, I'm angry or whatever it is. So that's the other thing to know, is that there's a communication highway that goes both ways between the brain and the body. Now, you can help to, I guess, control those physical responses a little better and promote a sense of calm in your mind through your breath. So if you start to master the breath, you're going to, sorry, my body just told me that I got enough steps and y'all did not see me walk around. I think I'm just gesturing a lot. So cool. But through the breath, you're able to slow down your breathing, slow down your heart rate, and thus communicate back up to your brain, I'm safe, it's okay. When we take a big, I could go into this really big, I'm not going to, but when we take a big inhale, it's like our body getting ready to go fight or go run. We're taking a lot of oxygen because we got to send oxygen to our extremities because we might need to fight something, right? And that's our caveman brain. I'll get into that a different time. But when we exhale nice and long, it's a release. And we start to slow down our exhales. If you make your exhales longer than your inhales, let's say you breathe in and you count to 3, but you breathe out and you count to 5 instead. You do that several times. Don't make yourself pass out. But you do that several times, you're now communicating back up to your brain, hey, I'm breathing nice and slow. My exhales are long. I'm safe. I'm calm. Perfect if you need to feel grounded. Perfect if you're feeling stressed out. Perfect if you're feeling worried. That's why the body can communicate back up to the brain. Through the breath, we can slow the heart rate, and then our brain goes, oh, my heart's not beating fast anymore. I must be safe. And then you start to feel more calm. That's a really reduced down version of that. But I'm telling you that through mindfulness, all of those things I showed you, increasing emotional regulation, decreasing anxiety, increasing just overall mood, couldn't we all feel better, right? I mean, especially in the day and age that we live right now, we're bombarded with negativity. We're bombarded with people who are impulsive, who do things that we don't like or maybe mean to us. And that doesn't change their choices, but we can change our response to it, right? There's a saying that pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. And that's what mindfulness can do, is like, we're going to have things happen to us that's not fun, but we can choose to suffer from that. We can choose to react poorly, or we can choose to respond with maturity. And that's the difference. And that's what mindfulness is going to do. So I got to almost none of my actual activities because I kept running my mouth, but it's because I'm passionate about this. And I think it's helpful and it works. So I can do like a part 2 later, and then we can get down into this a little bit more in terms of like, okay, actual strategies that I can do, Ellen, please, besides just brushing my teeth. So I will get there, but for now, we're going to leave it here. Go do today one thing mindfully, drop in periodically to how you feel, and just go ahead and do that like 3 days. Start to notice if that changes anything. Start to notice if that feels any different. 3 days is not a long time. You may not feel very much, but I think that even just being in the moment going, I feel sad, or I feel hopeful today, is going to start to shift your perspective a little bit. So thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate it. Go forth and be mindful.